Hello everybody, my name is Starrapter and I'm so happy you could join me for another episode of This Week in Star Wars Canon. Every week I break down all the latest in Star Wars continuity. This could be anything such as the TV series, the comics, the novels, and to the video games. This week it was a very busy week as far as Rogue One is concerned. Yes, it's out on Blu-ray. Yes, it was in theaters. That doesn't mean they're stopping anytime soon with Rogue One content. To start off the show this week, I want to talk about Rebel Rising. This is the young adult novel written by Beth Revis, and this is a story about Jyn Erso. This is basically about her entire life from the moment she gets picked up by Saw Gerrera on Lamu to the moments where she is brought in shackles to Yavin 4, and everything in between. This covers big events such as Saw Gerrera leaving her, and her living on her own, and it takes like big moments and just kind of explores them more, and it kind of just like shows you how she becomes, this person that is like a lone wolf, how she's like so despises the rebellion and the empire because she has experienced, perspectives from both of those. So something I really enjoyed about the writing in this is it's very emotionally heavy of a story. Like, you get these character attachments with Saw Gerrera and Jyn Erso and some other new people she meets. So as far as a Star Wars novel, it actually kind of goes and strikes new territory, and it creates like this kind of emotional, sort of resonant experience. So I really enjoyed this novel. I actually have my review you can go see on the channel. The next bit of Rogue One content that came out this week I want to talk about is Star Wars Guardians of the Whills. This is a young reader novel. It is written by Greg Rucka, who also did Before the Awakening as well as Smuggler's Run. So just because it's a young reader's novel does not mean you should shy away from it. This thing is great. Greg Rucka writes this as if he's not even trying to go towards that demographic. I think anybody could really enjoy this story, and it's a story about Baze and Chirrut. We've been waiting for kind of a backstory, and well, this is everything you could want and a little bit more with this novel. I really actually enjoyed it. They go into a bit of the Force in this. They go into both perspectives of Chirrut and Baze, which was really good. I especially enjoyed the chapters with Chirrut because, as we know, he's blind, so it's interesting because it's kind of like a Daredevil thing where he's kind of sensing, all his other senses are heightened, so he's going around and it explores how he's able to feel the Force. It doesn't exactly give you a concrete answer if he's Force sensitive or not. It doesn't seem like he is, but it just kind of hints at some further things. So I really enjoyed this novel. Again, this is another one I have a review for on the channel right now. You can go check that out. So moving on with the Rogue One trend this week, the last thing I want to talk about is issue number 2 of the Rogue One Adaptation. So the last time we left off in issue 1, we had just arrived on Jedha with K2, Jyn, and Cassian, and this one brings us right up to the point where the Death Star fires at Jedha, and we have that great hologram scene between Jyn and her father Galen. So what did I enjoy about this issue in particular? Well, I did like the beginning of this issue. I think it's going to be a cool trend how every beginning of each issue we have what's called the Rebels Report, so it gives us the objectives that the Rebels are trying to accomplish as well as some characters of note. And it's just a neat little way to kind of get into this, being it's a standalone comic, kind of like the standalone movies in a way, so it kind of ties it all in because it doesn't have the crawl like the normal comics do. Another thing I really enjoyed about this issue, which they've been doing a great job with, is kind of giving us these great little snippets of flashbacks. So we got a bit of the Bodhi Rook ones where if you had read the novelization, it goes into more detail about what Bulgullet does to him with his mind. He kind of just like thinks back to images of him and his mother and about his like mentor pilot guy and him joining the Empire, so that was really neat. And with Jyn Erso, they go back to where she was like 16, between 8 and 16, which also connects with our previous entry, which was Rebel Rising, which is this cool synergy. So it actually has like a little bit of scenes from that novel pretty much like thrown into this comic adaptation. And one particular scene that wasn't even in Rebel Rising, which I find highly fascinating, is there's this image of Saul and Jyn at what looks like Yavin around that hollow table with Bail Organa and what looks like a very young Princess Leia. So that was really interesting. And yeah, I wonder if they'll shed more light on that relationship, how Jyn like met Princess Leia. That's kind of cool. Another thing I want to talk about is the actual action scenes. I thought they were great. Just the way the panel design was, especially with the whole Chirrut scene of kicking the crap out of the stormtroopers like we see in the movie. They go through this kind of, I don't know, they do it a lot in Daredevil comics. He kind of has multiple, in one panel, multiple versions of himself kind of just going through these crazy acrobatic abilities. That was really cool. And of course, seeing that scene with Jyn with the batons kind of just going at it with all the stormtroopers. So job well done to the artist team for, you know, really depicting a great kind of action kinetic scene there. And finally, I want to talk about the really awesome ending to this comic, and I thought they did it justice with how the movie did it, with the whole kind of the hologram thing. I mean, it was great with Jyn and Galen, and they just kind of took a page out of the movie where they were intersplicing dialogue bubbles on top of other things happening with, like, Krennic, you know, getting ready to fire the Death Star. It was really well done. The artwork, you see Jyn there with that tear in her eye. It was just like, man, it kind of tugged at my heartstrings again. And finally, the last bit of canon I want to talk about that came out this week is Poe Dameron number 14. This is book 3 and part 1. I also picked up the variant cover, which is the 40th anniversary. And yeah, Han shoots first, guys. So where does this pick up? So this is the 3rd arc in Poe Dameron. So there's a lot of fallout that's being dealt with from the previous arc that is kind of focused on in this particular issue. This isn't an action-heavy issue. It actually is an issue that takes a break, so it takes some time to really get into the characters' heads of both Poe Dameron and Agent Terex, which is very welcome, especially for Poe, because I feel like he's been taking a back seat for pretty much this entire series. So it's really nice to actually get some development out of the guy for once. And so it's basically, they are dealing with, at least at the Resistance base, one of their comrades died. Again, I'm not going to spoil this for you guys, but what happens is there's basically this grieving process for all the people at the Resistance base on Dakar, and none other than General Leia is actually leading this whole kind of celebration, this whole kind of, you know, mourning process as well for this certain character. And on the other side of things, you have Agent Terex, who, you know, he's basically a prisoner of the First Order, and he gets approached by Phasma, and he's trying to tell her, look, I have secrets for the First Order that help take down the Resistance and all this stuff, and he's begging for his life and hope that he doesn't get thrown into a mine. And he's trying to basically just prove his worth, prove his loyalty once again to the First Order to kind of get revenge on the New Republic and the Resistance. So I'm going to talk about some things that I enjoyed about Poe Dameron number 14. First off, it's hard not to notice that this actually has a new artist on it. His name is Angel Unzueta. He adds more realism compared to Phil Noto's kind of stylized design, which I really appreciate, but it's nice to get like a new flavor, something to refresh the book. And he does a great job with Carrie Fisher's look, and that's really important because she plays, well, a pivotal role in this particular issue. As I mentioned, she kind of leads this funeral of this one fallen comrade. She's wearing all black, and she basically is talking to Poe Dameron quite a bit about what he really means to the Resistance, and she's a focal point on like getting him to understand what he really is doing there, and it's a great way of, you know, and Charles Soule actually said on Twitter that this issue was pretty much like his tribute to the late Carrie Fisher, and I thought he did a great job with all the dialogue presented in this particular issue. And another thing I want to talk about, why I briefly touched about it, is that this dives deeper into Poe Dameron, and it gives us a great look at like what he's doing with like the grieving process of losing this person he's known most of his life. And not unlike the other people that are partying and enjoying and celebrating the fallen comrade, he is stuck in a bit of a rut, and he is really, you could tell he is not taking it easy, and he wants to just get on another mission to kind of just push it aside and wait till later. And he has that nice talk with Leia, which just really kind of makes him think who he is. And at the same time, we get the whole thing going on with Agent Terex, and it's really cool how imagery is. They splice images together of both their faces. They kind of show the parallel of the journey of both of these characters, and Terex is just trying his hardest to really say to Phasma that he is 100% back with the cause of the First Order, because they are carrying on essentially what the cause of the Empire was. And it's just awesome that we have this character perspective of somebody in the First Order, now that we know what their kind of mission is. It's very vague at this point, but it is cool just to see the stormtroopers. I mean, isn't that cool enough? So that is going to do it for this week in Star Wars canon, but I want to know what you guys thought of Poe Dameron 14, of Rogue One #2, of Guardians of the Whills, and of Rebel Rising. Let's talk about it in the comment section below. Also, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so. I upload content like this on a frequent basis, and I would love to talk to you guys regularly. Also, if you watch my videos regularly, let me know about the lighting situation. I got new lights, so I'd like feedback. Also, this is the only Star Wars related video I'll be doing this week, so I want to wish everybody a very special May the 4th. What do you plan on doing on May the 4th? Are you doing a movie marathon? Let's also talk about that in the comment section below. I'm Starrapter. I want to thank you guys for watching, and may the Force be with you always. So, did you like the video? Then make sure you rate it a thumbs up, and if you did that, go over there, hit that Starrapter head to subscribe to my channel. Doing so will keep you up to speed on all of my latest content. Speaking of which, you can see a couple of my recent uploads down below. I'm also on social media, so what are you waiting for? Let's start nerding out.